Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. Today, me and Baylee were going back and forth thinking, what should we talk about? And we basically picked the topic that hasn't made the biggest splash in the headlines, but we definitely think it is the most interesting thing this week. And we hope you agree too. So Baylee, what is it that we're talking about?
We're talking about China's financial regulator, who have decided to block certain domestic companies from listing on the country's stock exchanges. And the reason they're doing this is actually twofold. So one is to protect retail investors from risky investment, and two is to channel investment into companies that serve its national goals.
So as far as I'm aware, there is no other stock exchange that operates with this sort of government intervention. So if you're a Chinese company, it's less about your bottom line and much more about where you are within the national policies. So Baylee, how are they actually implementing this?
They're basically putting companies into three categories. The first is the red light category, which will be the kind of industries that will be off limit to IPOs for the foreseeable future. That's going to include restaurant chains, alcohol, private PCR testing. In essence, companies that either have perceived investment risks or they don't serve the official China national agenda. There's also going to be a yellow light category where we'll see sectors like furniture and apparel, and they're going to be monitored really, really closely, and they could come under scrutiny if they go into a lot of debt to expand.
Okay, so removing things like restaurant chains. So if I had grand designs to set up the next harvester in China, I should probably start to row back on that plan. So what kind of companies then will get the green light? So the ones that can list and raise finance through equity markets?
That's going to include things like biochemistry, manufacturing, semiconductors, crucially, the industries that put them at a strategic advantage versus the other global players like the US. And that's even if the financial performance is poor in those industries. This is all because the authorities recognise that there's a limited pool of capital for investment. So they want to make sure more is allocated to industries that serve the government goals, even if that means less investment in industries that may be better financial performers.
It's so interesting, and as we said before, it's totally different to the way that other stock markets work. And Baylee, we've discussed whether or not tighter government controls is a good or a bad thing for financial markets, and we have a bit of a difference of opinion. So where I stand is, well, if you could implement it in the right way, it could potentially have huge benefits. So could you imagine a world where you could tilt the market to turbocharge cash funneling into companies that are providing solutions for things like climate change? Surely that would be a good thing if you could encourage people to invest into companies that are doing good in the world.
I understand that point, and it would be absolutely fantastic if it was only used to improve the world or improve healthy competition, but I'm just not convinced it would only be used in that way. And I don't think investors would benefit in a reduction in what they can invest into either. That's going to impact the economy. For example, if our restaurant industry was put on a red light, it's going to cause a loss of jobs and you'll have some very unhappy customers.
And we're back to harvester again. There we go. So basically what you're saying is it's incredibly hard to implement fairly. But you know what? We'd be really interested to know for the people watching what your view is. So if you want to comment or send us an email, let us know where you sit in the debate. So do you think tighter government controls in the financial markets is a good thing, or do you think that market should continue to be unhindered from government intervention? But with that, it does bring us to a close. So thanks, Baylee. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.